Hello, everyone, and welcome today. We are so excited to be kicking off 2022 with this group. Today is going to be a ton of fun and hopefully pretty inspiring as we're all kind of, settling back into routines, starting new routines, and thinking about what it means to live a full and productive life. My name is Zoe, and I run user education programming here at Notion. I'm joined by Khe, who is the founder of RadReads, which is an online academy that helps high performers like all of you lead productive, examined, and joyful lives. He is the creator of the 10K Work Framework and teaches a very popular course called Supercharge Your Productivity, which is part of what we're going to be working through today. So before founding RadReads, Khe spent 15 years working on Wall Street, was one of the youngest managing directors at BlackRock. He's been called Oprah for Millennials by CNN, and we are just so lucky to be learning from him today about how to think through task management and how to do it in Notion. So I have a couple of quick housekeeping items before I hand it off. Looks like most of you have found the chat on the right-hand side. Hello to everyone again. That's where you can talk about anything that's going on in our session today. Tell us we're doing a great job, anything you want to do there. If you have a question, though, I would ask that you use this questions tab, which is just to the left of the chat box. And in there, you can drop your question. Other folks can upvote it, and that way we can just keep track of the questions that are being asked and answer them in order of priority. I find that if they're in the chat, they just tend to get lost. That is really it. I'm really excited to get started today. We're going to jump in talking about what it means to do this 10K work and then doing some building in Notion. So with that, I will hand it off.
Awesome. Hello, everybody. Happy New Year. Happy 2022. And thank you to Zoe and the Notion team for making this happen. Just by way of quick introduction, I see some friends in the chat. Bonnie, I see Marion, I see Tammy, some of our colleagues, some of our former our students. So good to see everyone come back for this exciting topic. So just wanted to give you a quick lay of the land of what we're going to do. Like it's the new year, right? And boy, what a stretch of 2 years it's been. And it's time to kind of get re-energized, reinvigorated, and really what we're going to do today is I'm going to challenge you to identify what really matters. Like really drive your focus on the things that move your needle in your life, what we're going to call 10K tasks, and to also recognize these like $10 tasks, these kind of dopamine inducing tasks that just feel good in the moment, but are not getting you to where you want to be at the end of Q1, at the end of Q2, at the end of 2022. So with that, I love also how everyone is mentioning that they're taking notes in Notion. That is quite apropos for today's talk. So I'm going to do a quick presentation just to set the stage. Then I'm going to build a simple 10K task manager from scratch. And then the third part, I'll show you the advanced task manager that you can all download for free at the Notion template gallery, all the different features. And then the fourth part will be Q&A that Zoe will moderate. So with that, shall I jump in, Zoe? And all right, let's do this. I'm going to share my screen and take us to, so Zoe, if there's any issues, just audio me because I can't see anything but my screen. Awesome. So welcome to the Supercharge Your Productivity with 10K Work presentation with our friends over at Notion. So today I'm going to teach you about this special, wonderful matrix over on the left and how you can incorporate it into your daily lives, into your productivity systems, into your teams, into your project management and goal setting. So with that, it's a new year and a new you. Now, I want you to imagine a productivity system that can do a few things. It can fight the fire hose of information. It can let you dream big. It can help you focus on what matters most and give you a smile throughout your day, right? So we want to tame the fire hose, dream big, focus on what matters, and look at this beautiful meditating cat. Let you smile a lot. So we are going to introduce you to the 10K productivity framework. So first, let me introduce myself. Zoe told you everything you need to know, but my name is Khe. I used to work on Wall Street. I'm an avid surfer, just got back from the ocean. I tell a lot of dad jokes, make a lot of hip hop references, and wear unicorn t-shirts. I'm the creator of the RadReads blog and newsletter, which serves 30,000 plus high achieving professionals. And we teach the popular course, Supercharge Your Productivity. And we also run the Rad Studio, which is our B2B business to build Notion and no-code setups for companies. We have a simple mission, is to help you lead a productive, examined, and joyful life. Right? So we help high-performing knowledge workers lead productive, examined, and joyful lives. So there's this intersection of productivity, of examining your life, and of joy. And we'll throw you right smack in the middle. So what does it mean to live a productive life? You get more of the right things done. Emphasis on the right. Examined, understand your true motivations. Where are you heading? Where are you going? What is the vision you have for your life, for your company? And joy. What's the point if we don't move through our lives without a smile on our faces? So the way we approach this is we combine the how and the why. We have an informal joke tagline at RadReads, which is come for the productivity, stay for the existential. We ask the question why a lot. So a lot of productivity setups are all about the how. Wake up early, do this, do that. But today we are going to focus you on the why. Like, what makes me come alive? How can I share my gifts with the world? And that's where this 10K framework really sets itself apart. So without further ado, let us dig in. Here is the framework. It's a matrix, a 2x2 matrix. On the vertical axes, you have leverage, high leverage, and low leverage. And on the horizontal axes, you have low skill and high skill. And as you move through the quadrants, you go from 10 to 100 to 1,000 to 10K work. So you know what low skill and high skill is, but what is leverage? Leverage is really anything that can amplify your work, right? So if you think of this presentation that I'm giving, I saw last I checked, there were 152 of you on the chat. This is a leveraged way for me to be communicating an idea that is very important to us. Another way to have leverage is to be a good manager, or maybe to write online, or to create a culture of education and learning in your company, right? So these are ways that you can amplify, right? So if it's one-to-one, it's low leverage. If it's one-to-many, it's high leverage. So it's helpful to split this this matrix in half and look at it on the left side, where we try to keep you doing as little work as possible and really focus you on the right side, where we want you to spend most of your days. So it's the difference between being efficient and being effective. It's a difference between execution-oriented mindset and a growth-oriented mindset. I always joke, what's $10 work? It's work that you can do with a headache or a hangover. As opposed to its brethren, deep work, where you really need to focus. $10 work releases dopamine. 10K work is hard to define. It's playing for the long game. So this is the crux of our matrix, and we're going to build this into Notion for you to use every day. The beautiful thing is you cannot unsee this. I want you to start thinking in your heads right now, oh, this thing I did this morning, that was, low skill, low leverage. Could I have done it with a headache? Yep. Okay. Yeah. Getting to inbox 0. Or you could have said, I sat down with my, my direct report, and we planned their objectives for the year. Total 10K work. Then we'll talk about everything in between. Now, people often hear this matrix and they think, oh, this is all about making more money. No. There's currency exchanges. I know we have such a global audience here. I want you to think about this in terms of force multipliers, right? So if $10 work is checking your email, what's something that's 10 times more impactful? Maybe writing a standard procedure guide or documenting your processes. What's something that's 100 times more impactful? Developing a new skill, learning a new skill. And what's something that's 1,000 times more impactful than checking your email? Every single one of you has a series of activities that is 1,000 times more impactful than checking your email. And it's incumbent for you to identify what those are and then to go on and do them. So let's take a simple example. a recent grad, and let's go through a recent grad at their first job, going through all of their tasks. So $10 work for them might be getting to inbox zero. I do pick on inbox zero a lot. And by the way, I am an inbox zero person, but I only check my email 3 times a day. $100 work might be learning a new productivity framework, might be attending this lecture and applying new ideas. $1,000 work might be becoming a better writer, spending time to invest in a writing practice, drafting, journaling, things like that. And then $10,000 work could be finding a new mentor that can open up vast amounts of information and possibilities for you, right? So if you're early in your career, I want you to sit with this and just think about use these as guides, like what could fit into each of these quadrants as a recent graduate. All right, now we'll go to the other end of the spectrum, a CEO of Pepsi. What's $10 work? Getting to inbox zero. What's $100 work? Could be improving processes, right? The CEO of Pepsi should not be concerned with improving processes in the different business units. They're talented enough to do it, but they shouldn't be doing it. There might be occasions when they need to do it, but they shouldn't be doing it. What's $1,000 work? Working on a strategy brief for a board presentation, right? It might be something that only the CEO could be in a position to do. What's $10,000 work? Building a culture that attracts and retains the best talent. And obviously, there's many ways the CEO can do that. They can go give talks. They can be active in recruiting. They can go talk on campuses. They can have free online training programs, certification programs, and so on and so forth. So I hope this gives you a flavor of these different gradients, and just start trying to think about where your activities fall in these 4 quadrants. So now we're going to build this for you, and then we're going to share the template. So as I said before, we are going to share, you have access to this template in the Notion template gallery. And then we have a free event coming up where we walk you through this. It's a 3-day event where you'll go through every quadrant, goal setting, and so on. And Zoe can drop the link in for that. So without any further ado, let us get to the building part. I could just watch this Giphy for a long time. So I will just pop out of this screen and I will take us to our Notion build. Zoe, audible to me? You can see everything?
Looks good. You can see it.
All right.
If you could zoom in maybe 2 or 3 times, I think that might help.
That better?
Looks perfect. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. All right. So the only step that I skipped in Notion was to create a new page and customize the banner. So don't worry about that at this part. I really want to focus you on the page building elements, right? So we're going to take this blank page. Now, I recognize that we probably have people who are scratching their heads saying, what's Notion in the audience? And then we have people that know how to write directly into the webhooks of the API. So I'll try to cover as broad of ground as possible. But for those of you who are new to Notion, just think of this as a Google Doc or an Evernote or a Microsoft Word document. You can think of this as a word processor, and you've got some text on it and you've got some stylings. But here's the trick, here's the difference. We are going to start embedding a table into this document, into this page in Notion parlance. And the table would be akin to embedding a spreadsheet in a Google document or in a Word document, right? And so you'll see that right away where I hit this plus sign over to the right, which gives me a drop-down menu of all these incredible Notion. There's probably 70 things you can pick from in here. And we're not going to spend the time to go through each and every one of these, but you have elements ranging from different text elements. You can embed Spotify playlists. You can put in tables, databases, Google Maps, all sorts of things, Miro charts, you name it, you could probably put it into these pages. And that really shows the versatility of Notion. But what we're going to do today is we're going to start, I'm going to scroll us down into the database section. And we are going to build a task manager. So I'm going to select this first option called Table Database Inline. And right there, you see it drops in what looks like a spreadsheet. It asks for a name, so we'll call this Task Manager. Hit Enter, and again, you have some columns and you have some rows, very similar to a spreadsheet. But don't be fooled. This is much more than a spreadsheet. So the first thing you'll notice is this first column, which would be, if you're familiar with databases, would kind of be your primary key. But this is, since we're building a task manager, we're actually going to rename this first column. I just click on it and I call it task name, right? Because we're going to have a bunch of tasks. All right. And we'll start adding tasks shortly, but I want to show you. So Notion gives you this column to start with. I'm going to delete it just so that you can really get a clean grasp of what I'm doing. So, all right, we added task name. Now, the first thing, I can't see the chat, but I want you to start listing the types of data you'd want to see in a task manager. So drop those into the chat, and if I miss any, Zoe might call them out. I'm going to pick a few of our most common ones. So the first most obvious one to add a column, you hit this plus sign, would be, is the task done? Now you'll see here in this field called property type, it pulls up a bunch of different options. So again, you had a list of blocks and now you have a list of column types just for this table. I think you could start to see the permutations that this enables. So I will go in and select checkbox. Now, those of you who are old enough might remember that one day Google Sheets added checkbox to their columns and people lost their mind. Like this is, and here this is just like a most basic feature. So this is a task, a checkbox to indicate whether our task is done. And I can size it appropriately. The next thing I'll add for our task manager is a due date. So I'll hit the plus sign again. And as you can see, the difference between a spreadsheet here is that once you create a column, every column has to have the same type of data. So if you're an Excel guru, you don't need to do any conditional formatting or data validation. You just, if you want a date, you will always get a date in that column. If you want an email address, you will always get an email address in that column. So here we will put the date and I will click in and this will be the due date. All right. Now here's something super cool about Notion. I know I'm getting excited. If I click into the cell, yes, I can manually type in the date, but I get a full-blown calendar. I can put start times, end times. I can change the formatting. I can include the time, all these different features. I can set reminders. So, you could think of this like a spreadsheet with a date in it, but it's really, every time you drill down one level deeper, Notion opens up all these permutations of possibility. We're not going to explore them all, but that's the date. All right, next we can put what we would put prioritization, right? What's the priority of this task? Now here's where it gets spicy. You might use high, medium, low, but I just gave you a completely different lens to think about prioritization. The task value, right? 10K, 1K, $10, so on and so forth. So we could call it prioritization, but I'm going to call it task value. And then you get to see another unique data type that is called select, which is basically a drop-down menu where you can pick one of multiple options. So that's task value. And you can see if I click in the row below, there's not that many options. There's no options yet. So I'm going to create my options really quickly. So there's a 10K task. I hit create. There is a 1K task. Remember, high skill, low leverage. There's a $100 task. That's low leverage, high leverage, low skill. And then there's a $10 task. Now look at that. I deleted that, and you have a beautiful, beautiful drop-down menu. All right, and I can resize this row. And then the last thing I will add for our task manager would be tags. So I add one last column, tags. I'm gonna go a little bit faster just to keep us moving. This time it'll be, unlike a select, it'll be a multi-select. And this could be a bunch of different things like, you know, I do it at home, I do it at work, I might do it on my phone. It could be a high energy. If you're familiar with David Allen, these are like contexts, high energy and low energy. And these are just tags that we can apply to any of our tasks. I'm going to just delete these all. All right. So there we have the first makings of a very, very simple task manager. And since it's January, maybe we can start pulling in some tasks that map to our January. So the first could be, let's actually use the tasks for a college graduate. You know, get to inbox 0. That would be a recurring task. And we could identify that task as a $10 task. And then we could identify that as low energy and something related to work. I'm just going to do one thing here to unwrap the cells. Okay, and then we add, the next one was create process manual for onboarding. All right, that might have a due date for next week. That would be a $100 task, and that might actually take high energy. And that's also something you'd want to do at work. Enroll in writing course. That would be a $1,000 task, 10K, 1K task. And that might be something you do at home. And then add one last one, find a mentor. That might be a little too broad of a task, but let's just put that in as 10K, and that's high energy. So right there, you have the makings of a task manager. Now I want to show you a few additional tricks here. The first is I want to show you how to filter some of this, right? So in a task manager, let's say I'm done enrolling in the writing course. I mark that as checked, but wait a minute, I don't want to see that. It should go away. So what we want to do here is create what's called a filter. So I hit these 3 dots, and it gives me the option to filter. I click on filter, I click add a filter, and it says, okay, what do you want to filter? So I don't want to see any tasks that are complete. That's me telling you. So I go, my filter would be the complete or done button, and only show me tasks where done is unchecked. There you go. So if I ended up getting to inbox 0, then I can check it off, and you can see it disappears. The task hasn't disappeared from the table, but it's just being filtered out of this view. So that is filtering. Now, the next thing I want to show you, and we could also just go in and remove that filter, and there are our tasks again. All right. So that's filtering, a very, very powerful way to filter filter any table that you have. Okay. The next thing I want to show you are different views. So we'll do 2 views in the interest of time. So let's just put some due dates for all of these tasks. I'll make this one do the 13th. I'll make this one do the 11th, and I'll make this one do the 7th. All right, so all of our tasks have due dates, they have task values, and they have tags. I click this button, add a view, and you see this pop up. This says a view lets you see the same database in multiple ways. So I want to take this exact data, but I want to see it as a calendar, right? Because let's say I'm a visual person. So I click add a view, and it gives me 6 views to choose from. We were already in table view. So I'm going to type calendar, and I pick calendar, and then I hit create. So right there, if I scroll down, These are the exact same tasks, but because they had dates, Notion knows to map them onto a date. And by the way, I haven't lost any of my data. Notion has just hidden it, but I could add the tags and the task value. And maybe I can even add the done button. So you can see get to inbox 0 is done, and here are the tags. So that's a calendar view. I can always go back to my table view. I'm going to show you one more view. For those of you familiar with Trello, this is, we hit add a view, the board view, Kanban view. Board view, hit create. And there you see it groups my tasks by the task value. So let's say I came up with another 10K task. And that 10K task could be start my blog, right? I added it as a 10K task. So this is the same data, again, just presented differently. The last thing I'm going to do before I show you the completed task manager is to show you what we call table templates or task templates. So you see this little blue arrow. What if you want to have a predetermined type of task that you use over and over and over? Well, let's say you're a 10K machine and you want to have access to just create a 10K task that's preset. So you'd hit this little arrow, you'd hit new template, and you'll see this tan bar tells you that you're not creating a task, you're creating a template. So you create a 10K task. And let's say you have an emoji that really identifies a 10K task for you. That could be the rocket ship emoji. So you put that there. And you want to preset this task as 10K, right? So we created a template, right? This is not an actual task. So look at what happens now. Let's say I want to add a new task, a new 10K task. I'm at my desk and I realize that I could start studying for the GMAT. That's a 10K task. I click new 10K task, rocket ship emoji. Study for GMAT. And you'll see it already pre-populated this at 10K. It put my rocket ship here. I click out, study for GMAT is listed there as a task with 10K task value. We could do that one last time. I'll do it quickly, but just so you could get the hang of it. New template, you might do a $10 task, right? $10 task. That task value would be 10. You might do like, I don't know, confused, like why are you doing this $10 task? And then exit out. And so someone might say, you know, you got to update your driver's license. Update driver's license. And you can see it's a $10 task. And you might actually say, yeah, that's also a low energy task that I have to do at home. And there it shows up, $10, low energy home with the shrug emoji. So that wraps the build portion. You can see we've only been building for 14 or so minutes, and you can see how powerful this is with our different views, our calendar, our Kanban board. And yeah, this is super simple stuff. If you're new to Notion, I'd encourage you to just rewatch the replay and kind of pause at the different increments. I went in a very sequential way so that you could do it on your own. All right, so now I'll just show you Zoe. Yep.
Oops.
All right. I will show
yes,
you.
Please show the template. I'm sorry, my microphone got stuck on muted, but thank you for that, Bill.
No worries.
That was great.
Awesome. So I'm going to show you your 10K task manager that you can go out and download. So this just builds off of what we have been doing together. Now it adds a few sections. So you'll see this projects and domains. We didn't have time to assign tasks into projects. And domains are parts of your life that don't end. Projects end, like you might need to set up payroll and benefits on JustWorks. And once you do that, it's done. But your family has a bunch of tasks related to them, and those will never end. And so we call that a domain. If you're familiar with Tiago Forte, he calls it areas of responsibility. David Allen calls them horizons of focus. The Eisenhower matrix calls them important but not urgent. But they're basically parts of your life that never end, that have tasks related to them. They're quite tricky to stay on top of. And so this part of the template has your projects and domains, and you can see here, you can add a new domain, you can add a new project. All right. Then when you get down to the tasks, you see very similar to what we built. We have DO dates and DUE dates. So DO dates let you plan when you want to do something, and the DUE date is when it's actually due. We've linked to the projects and the domains, so you can actually assign tasks to projects and assign tasks to domains. Here we created a formula for you that will show you if a task is overdue with this little red flag. We created a whole variety of different recurring tasks, task templates that you can use. And we created a bunch of different views, similar to the ones, but we have, like, you can see just your overdue tasks, right? Buy Christmas presents. You could see tasks that are due soon. We don't have any currently in there. And then obviously you have the board view. One view that I didn't get to show you is the group view, which is just another way to pair the data. So here are all your 10K tasks. Here are all your 1K tasks. Here are all your $100 tasks. And then lastly, I want to show you, we have a little quick capture button. So you see here, you have this new button. And what this does is, I might want to say, update notes from 10K presentation. I hit escape and it disappeared. It's not in this little quick capture section. You then scroll down to your tasks and you'll see, oops, let me get to my right view. Open tasks. And you'll see update notes from 10K presentation. I can assign it to one of my projects or my domains. So maybe this comes into my career. And then I can assign it a task value, 10K. I can assign it a due date. If I made it due yesterday, you'll see the flag pops up here. And so that is how, you can quickly add tasks to your task manager, and they will show up down here. And all the filtering and sorting, right? If I hit this, if I start checking these off, they go away. So all of the sorting, the filtering has been done for you. So with that, and then you have some more resources here that you can check out. So with that, I might pop back out and stop sharing my infinite screen.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That was truly wonderful. I think there was something for everyone there, right? If you've never built in Notion, we got a little overview of databases and understanding, how each row can translate to a task. You can start super simple with just the checkbox in a database, like he showed. Or if you're a more advanced user, customizing some of those formulas and templates are really awesome use cases here. So thank you so much. We do have some questions. You talked about recurring tasks a bit and showed us how to do templates to set up recurring 10K, 1K tasks. I'm curious how you would manage a weekly task that you have to do. I have to do, vacuum my whole house every 3 days. How do you put that sort of thing into this framework?
It's so there are a few ways to do it. I would say the easiest. I'll say three ways to do it. The first way is you could actually, it's probably the hackiest, which would be to basically create 12 tasks. So let's say it's pay your rent. Mm-hmm. And you could just create 12 tasks, January 1st, February 1st. And then at the end of the year, just remember to, maybe set a reminder to do the following year. That would be the cleanest way, because you can always use filters to not show, the remaining 11 months to pay. You could say, only show me my tasks that are due in the next, week. So that would be probably the easiest way. The way that I personally would do it is I set up a task template that's recurring, and I make sure that the emoji is like very clear, that it's like, it might be like usually has red in it to like really just draw my eye. And then you need to change your behavior slightly, because when it becomes due, you have to remember to manually change the due date. And that's what I would do. And I use a review function to just check that I'm like doing that on my review, on my chats, on my recurring tasks. And then the more advanced way would be to connect to Zapier, and then just have Zapier. You can set Zapier to just initiate the new task on whatever schedule you want. That requires familiarity with the API, and I believe you need a paid account to Zapier to do that.
Yeah, I think that's true. But that's a great answer, and a lot of creative ideas that I wouldn't have thought of. I love it. My answer was going to be like maybe make one page for every week, which would work, but I think it's all about like what works for you and what makes sense.
Absolutely.
Cool. I'm seeing a question here about customizing fields in the PDF. I'm going to look into that. I don't know if that's something we can answer live, but I will get you a resource here shortly. Cool. Gilbert asked, this is an awesome approach, but you have a lot of projects, domains, and tasks. How do you keep focus from there to not get overwhelmed by seeing all the stuff that needs to get done? Like, how do you prioritize basically within this framework?
Great question. So there's two answers, Gilbert. So I'm very much a disciple of David Allen's Getting Things Done. And so the philosophy of GTD, I highly recommend. I think it was one of the most impactful career professional books I've read. I read it 20 years ago, and I try to reread it each year, of no affiliation to the company. So highly recommend it. But what David Allen says is basically you add metadata to a task. So you saw that I had like prior 10K task value, but you could have domains, you have like, is it a high energy task? Is it a low energy task, et cetera? And so what you would then do, and this is where Notion is stellar, is you create a bunch of views that map to how you work. So let's say you're I'm a morning person. So I have a view that's called low energy, and that's all of my low energy and $10 tasks. And I tend to do those after 3 p.m. I work for myself, so I have, or work for a small company, so we have much more looser structures on meetings and things like that. So I have these different views for different parts of my day. My morning is my thinking time. And so I'll pull up all of my 10K and 1K tasks related to work for the first 3 hours of my day. Then there'll be different parts of the day where I'm in like direct report mode. And so I'll pull up like my direct report dashboard where I'll filter like only show me tasks related to my direct reports. That would be the first part of the question, how I'd answer the first part of the question. The second way I would answer the question is by doing a weekly review. And the weekly review, basically, you sit down with your task, again, through different lenses. Like, am I being a good dad? Am I being a good boss? Am I being a good spouse? There'll be some tasks related to that. There'll be some journaling related to that. There'll be some habits related to that. And you have to commit to that. I mean, the only way to deal with these important but not urgent parts of our life, in my opinion, is to do a weekly review, which is kind of like a catch-all to make sure that you're not that there's no leaky, that there's no leaky pipes in your house. And the weekly review is that, and Notion is perfect for that because of the ability. In fact, in our course, we have like a full-on weekly review template that grabs all of these views based off of the tags that we recommend. Great question.
Yeah, really great question. I think if there was one tool to solve the prioritization problem, that would be amazing. I think you can get there with Notion, but it definitely requires a lot of intentionality, like you said.
And like I said, like we said, come for the productivity, stay for the existential. The intentionality comes from knowing. It sounds trivial, but you have to know what matters, right? You have to explicitly call out what matters in your life. Because a lot of people say family, but then they work their butts off and never see their kids. So you have to reconcile those two.
I love the existential bit. I could have existential conversations all day. uh, Time for like probably one or two more questions. So the next one is,
Perfect.
what is the best way for me to archive and delete the done tasks? This person says, after 1.5 years of using Notion, I think there will be a lot of them, but I don't know if I should bother about them or like how to manage those.
Yeah, it's a really good question with different strokes for different folks. I am a big believer. We use giant tables across our organization. It probably has like 7,000 tasks on it, and we don't move tasks because of the way Notion lets you filter and create linked databases. Even if you had 500 checked off tasks, you could create a world where you never see those tasks ever. There's one nuance there, which is search. So sometimes your old tasks will show up in search, but search is getting better too, where if there's a task you haven't touched in 2 years, it doesn't show up in your top results. So whoever's on the search team, Zoe, kudos to them. So that would be the first way. The other ways, as Jordan S is saying, create an archive page. The only challenge with that, now we're going to get into some little Notion inside baseball, is that you have to map the fields exactly the same. And if not, you'll like lose your metadata. And to me, that's like a little too much cognitive overload because I'm always adding columns and removing columns in like my day-to-day table. And I don't want to have to like think about my archive table. Again, it probably doesn't matter even if you did lose the fields, but I don't see the purpose of it. One thing we might consider doing is going into some of the really old tasks and maybe just like outright deleting them. Like, and we would use like $10 task or something like that. But to answer your question, I don't think it's necessary. And especially as the performance has gotten so much better that it doesn't like impact search anymore.
Yeah, I would strongly agree with that. And just like anecdotally, inside Notion, we use a database to manage our entire company's tasks. And I mean, there has to be tens of thousands of entries into that, and it works pretty well. So I think
you don't delete them,
especially,
or you don't move them.
No, we don't delete them. They're all there. We just use views to look at them. So like, especially for a personal task manager, I would say like leave them. And then if you ever need to look at them for some reason or analyze, like they're there. But yeah, it should work out okay. Okay, last question here. Wow, we got to, I think, almost all of the questions. This is great. So Chrissy says, I have been using this function to develop spreadsheets in Notion. Is there a way to have multiple spreadsheets on the same page? For instance, I have January sales, February sales, all of that. Kate, do you want to maybe demo, if you're comfortable, showing how you can bring in multiple databases to the same like dashboard page?
Awesome. So that, so little known fact is I actually teach the Notion team how to use Notion in their onboarding. So this is, and Zoe went through that training. But I will show you, the reason why I bring that up is because it's what we call in all of our courses, the 3 magic words: create linked databases. So let's say the question, I'm sorry, I forgot the question asker's name, but wanted to look at things from January, February, and March. So I'm just going to do this super quick. I'm going to make this task due in February, and I'm going to make this task due in March. Okay. So our question asker wanted to say, I'd like to see a view of only my January tasks, right? So what we would do is we would go into our blocks, 3 magic words, create linked database, pulls up a linked database. Now it has, you have to find the file or the database. So this one's called Task Manager. And it pulls up, you see this little arrow? It's the exact same table. It's a mirror of this table. But here's the beauty of it. We only wanted to see tasks that were, that have a due date of, oops, let's see. I have DUE and due dates that have a due date. Is this the right one? You know what? I think I pulled the wrong database. Let's do this. We'll call this Notion Task Manager. I have so many pages that have task manager in them. So let's do Notion. There we go. Okay. So little arrow, sorry about that. Little arrow, all the same tasks. And then it's as simple as a filter, right? So I'll do filter, and I only want to see the January tasks. So I add a filter. I filter by my date column, and I can say is between, or is, let's say, is within. Actually, let's do, I don't know, what's the best way to do it?
We could do is within the current month, just to show.
Yeah, okay, cool. I want it to be precise, but is within the next month. There you go. So you have only January's tasks. You don't have this March task. And you could, the way we could actually recreate this, we could duplicate it. And you have, again, you'll see the little arrow. And then I could go in and change the filter. The one to get the month of March would be a little bit more nuanced. So I'm not going to do it on the spot, but it would be the same thing. You just have to use 2 filters to show you the month of March.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. Linked databases are super powerful, especially when you're
they're amazing
to like analyze your work and all of that. And it's cool to see in the chat the ways that you are all thinking about applying this framework already. It's really exciting. I think that is all we have time for today. So I just want to say thank you again to everyone for joining. Thank you to Khe for sharing your work and demoing for us. I personally learned a lot, feel inspired. I want to go look at my task list and refresh it a little bit. So yeah, awesome. Thank you. Thanks all.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Zoe. And I wouldn't be, Notion has played a big part in my personal life and my professional life. I've gotten to collaborate with the team often. And so it's an honor to be here. I know that 45 minutes on a January Thursdays is a big time commitment. So I appreciate you all. And I want to just leave you with one thing. Find that 10K work. Oftentimes it can just be a question, right? Like, what is the thing I need to improve on? Or what is the thing that's blocking me? If you just spend 25 minutes a day on your 10K work, you'll be unstoppable. Any dream that you have will be a reality by that commitment. 25 minutes, 10K work every day.
I love it. I just dropped that template in the chat one last time for anyone that needs it, and you'll get a recording of this session to your inbox. So thank you again, everyone. Happy New Year, and have a wonderful rest of your day, week, month, and year. Bye. Bye.